Good morning and welcome to Council's General Council meeting on Wednesday the 18th of June 2025, and we're starting at 9 o'clock on the dot. First of all, can we just take a note of all those present, please? Then we'll move on to apologies and leaves of absence. First of all, we have an apology from Mayor Janice Moriarty. She's actually attending and representing representing council at a forum with Dale last, so we will be moving an apology and a leave of absence for Mayor Moriarty. Can we have a mover on that, please? Mover, Councillor Burns. Seconder, Councillor Cypher. All in favour? Thank you. Are there any other apologies or leaves of absence to take? Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you. Yes, I would like a leave of absence. Sorry, the dates would be the 25th of August to the, to the 4th of September, which does include a General Council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So it might, that's just for the sort of course that I'm going to, but it might be a couple of days either side. I haven't booked my flights yet.
Just yep. So we're just checking the council meeting date is on the 27th of August for that one. So we will need a mover for that one to accept the leave of absence for Councillor Wilkins.
Please.
Mover, Councillor Hindmarsh. Seconder, Councillor Donaldson. All in favour? Carried. And now we'll move on to acknowledgement of country. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. We pay our respects to elders past and present. And now we'll also move to our opening prayer, and we are joined with Ministry Leader Anna Wiper from the Emerald Salvation Army, who will deliver the opening prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Ecclesiastes tells us two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble. This passage from Ecclesiastes is a wonderful reminder of the power of community, support and shared purpose. Life's challenges can feel insurmountable when faced alone, but with the strength of companionship, resilience is multiplied. The beauty of this scripture lies in the recognition of human vulnerability. Life can bring unexpected challenges that may cause us to stumble or even fall. When we walk through life's journey solo, we have no one to help us regain our footing. To stand alone is to face the trials and tribulations without the support system that God intended for us. Yet the fundamental promise of Ecclesiastes assures us that when we are in partnership with others, we reap greater rewards for our labour. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for all you are and all you do. You provide us with blessings so abundant we cannot count. We thank you for the ability to be able to work together and be responsible for governing and leading our local communities. We are grateful that we can come from many backgrounds and creeds and pray that you use our differences to improve the outcomes that we seek. Today I pray for our Deputy Mayor and the assembled council that they may have wisdom to govern amid any conflicting interests and issues and a sense of the true needs of their citizens. May their decisions to be guided by integrity and compassion, ensuring the best for all in the community. May they indeed be granted the insight and discernment needed to serve well. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around the Central Highlands. I pray in your blessed name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We really appreciate that, and it certainly reminds us of the values that we share and the responsibility that we carry when we go out our duties today. So thank you very much. So we'll move on to our confirmation of minutes from our previous meeting held on the 28th of May 2025. Do we have a mover for that, please? Councillor Cypher, a seconder? Councillor Burns. I take it we've all reviewed those meeting minutes. All in favour? Carried. Now we move to business arising out of those minutes. Is there any business arising from them? Councillor Newman.
Given today's agenda, I've been looking at the role of advisory committees and looking into detail in that. And in this meeting, I would like to rescind my objection to a conflict of interest against Councillor Cypher and Councillor Donaldson. I think they have the capacity to make an unbiased decision in all matters regarding the sale yards.
So we're just going to take some counsel for a moment, if that's okay, Councillor?
Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor. Appreciate the perspective. Unfortunately, the way the legislation works is the decision of councillors made at a meeting, or eligible councillors made at a meeting, will stand for all other matters. To rescind that now, I don't think that an individual councillor would be able to do that. So unfortunately, I think that's going to have to stand as it is and apply for today's meeting.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other matters arising? No. So we'll move to our review of outstanding meeting actions. We all had a chance to review those. No questions regarding any of those? Moving on. Deputations, we have nil. A mayoral minute, we have nil. And we will move on to conflicts of interest. Starting off, the subject matter of items 12.3.2 and 12.3.3 of this agenda, which relate to pricing and governance matters at the Emerald Sale Yards, was also considered as part of item 14.3.1 at Council's General Council meeting on the 28th of May 2025. Councillors Cypher, Cruz, Hindmarsh, Donaldson and Whiteman declared a declarable conflict of interest in relation to pricing and governance matters at the Emerald Sale Yards on the 28th of May 2025. Remaining eligible councillors made the following decisions under sections 150 ES of the Local Government Act on the 28th of May 2025, having regard to the declared conflicts. Councillor Cypher will be required to leave the room while the report 14.3.1, which relates to pricing and governance matters at the Emerald Sale Yards, is being discussed. Councillor Donaldson will be required to leave the room while report 14.3.1, which relates to pricing and governance matters at the Emerald Sale Yards, is being discussed. Councillor Whiteman will be able to remain in the room while report 14.3.1, which relates to pricing and governance matters at the Emerald Sale Yards, is being discussed. Councillor Hindmarsh will be able to remain in the room while report 14.3.1, which relates to pricing and governance matters at the Emerald Sale Yards, is being discussed. Eligible councillors also noted that Councillor Cruz will leave the room for the discussions of report 14.3.1, which relates to the pricing and governance matters of the Emerald Sale Yards, having regard to her declared conflict. In accordance with section 150 ET 4 of the Local Government Act, council's decisions made at the meeting on the 28th of May 2025 in relation to the relevant councillors apply to council's consideration of items 12.3.2 and 12.3.3 of this agenda. In other words, if the relevant councillors do not have any additional interest or corrections to their prior conflict of interest declarations, then councillors Cypher, Donaldson and Cruz will be required to leave the room while reports 12.3.2 and 12.3.3 of this meeting are discussed, and Councillors Whiteman and Hindmarsh may participate in decisions regarding reports 12.3.2 and 12.3.3 of this meeting, including by voting on these matters. So I now invite councillors to declare any additional interest or to correct any prior declarations made having regard to this agenda. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a statement, actually. Our conflicts of interest were based on legal advice, and for me to challenge that, I would have had to get additional legal advice, which I didn't seek to do. However, the firm that was used in 2019 gave legal advice that councillors with a similar conflict that I've declared did not have a conflict of interest on the sale yards. So I just want that noted, that this sets a precedence for a lot of things that councillors are involved in, and I will now challenge that a number of committees, etc., that councillors sit on will get legal advice and to see what their conflicts of interest are on different workshops, everything that we get involved in, because this has now set a precedence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cypher. No other conflicts of interest to report? That's it. Moving on to petitions.
Madam Deputy Mayor, no petitions received for this meeting.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Now we move to agenda item 12.1.1, the Auditor General Interim Audit Observation Report. Can we have a mover for this, please? Councillor Wilkins, a seconder. Councillor Burns. So now I hand over to Authorising Officer, Chief Financial Officer Arun Diaz.
Thank you. Through the Chair. Good morning, councillors. Councillors, this report is tabled in front of council to receive and note the interim audit report. And just for councillors to note, this is an interim audit report. The final report will be tabled at the close of the audit in September. And this report was also tabled at the last audit committee meeting last week. I will now invite our Manager of Finance, Helen Kirby, to talk through the salient points in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. Through the Chair, and good morning, councillors. The annual financial audit of council's financial statements is performed by the Queensland Audit Office. The audit is conducted in two stages, interim and final, with an observation report about matters arising from the audit provided at the completion of each stage. The Queensland Audit Office conducted the interim audit for the current financial year between the 6th and the 16th of May. The audit assessed the design and implementation of council's internal controls and whether they were operating effectively. This is important as these controls will be relied upon during the final audit of the financial statements for the 2024-25 financial year. The final audit will be conducted from August through to October. The interim audit report was issued to council on the 26th of May and noted that overall the internal control environment supports an audit strategy in which reliance can be placed on the key controls, on council's key controls. The report documents 5 internal control deficiencies and 3 financial reporting matters arising from both the current audit and prior year audits. In terms of internal controls, no new issues were identified during the current year interim audit. All of the 5 issues were still unresolved from prior year audits. In terms of financial reporting matters, only 1 was newly identified this financial year, and management has since implemented appropriate training and processes to address the issue. Management is still in the process of implementing corrective actions in relation to the remaining 2 unresolved prior year financial reporting issues and the 5 internal control deficiencies. These are all expected to be closed out upon completion of the final audit in October 25. In closing, the recommendation is that Council receives the Auditor General's observation report in relation to the interim audit of Council for the year ending the 30th of June 2025.
Thank you. I now open it up for discussions. As a mover, Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you. I was just pleased to see that there were no new internal control issues identified during this last this financial year. Yep. So that was wonderful. And it's also good to see that the internal control issue, and the financial reporting matters are still works in progress, and that Council is undertaking investigations and also working through it. So, and I like the idea that be resolved sort of in a timely manner. Yeah.
Anyone speaking against? Any comments at all? Councillor Newman.
I'm not, through the chair, I'm not speaking against. I'm just, I just have a question. In regard to the review of the contract asset and liability balances, that was overstated by $1,933,67. It says that will be rectified in June of this year. Is that reflected within the current balances, or does it change that June balance only?
Just through the chair, so it will be an end of financial year adjustment that we will process to correct the prior financial year. So it will be an accounting adjustment.
And further to that, will that affect the surplus because there was surplus implications with last financial year?
No, so just through the chair, so it relates to capital revenue, so it won't affect the operating result.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Any closing comments, Councillor Wilkins? As
Sure.
mover.
So further to that question, because it said in the report that because of that, the additional 1 million or whatever, that the grants were, sorry, I can't remember where it said that. That there was something about the grants that were, we were allowed much greater grants than we should have with the $1 million, but that actually isn't really affected.
Sorry, just through the chair. So
Yeah.
yes, so you're correct. It doesn't actually mean we're not receiving less grants.
Yes.
It's just in terms of accounting recognition, I guess, in terms of the timing and the timing of the grants last financial year.
Thanks, Helen.
Okay, so that recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council receives the Auditor General's observation report issued in relation to the interim audit of the Central Highlands Regional Council for the year ending the 30th of June 2025. It's been moved and seconded. Can we have a vote, please? All in favour? Carried. Moving on to agenda item 12.1.2, the monthly finance report for May 2025. Can we have a mover, please? Councillor Cruz moves. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Donaldson. Now handing over to Chief Finance Officer Arun Diaz.
Thank you. Through the chair, councillors, we take this report as read. However, just to note, the actuals to budget are presented against the recently budget review which has been adopted by council, which is BR3. I will now hand over to Helen Kirby, Manager of Finance, to take us through the salient points of the report. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, CFO, and through the chair. The May year-to-date report reflects the combined financial performance for the 11 months from the 1st of July 2024 to the 31st of May 2025, leading up to the final month of the 24-25 financial year. During this period, Council has recorded total operating revenue of $202.5 million, which is in line with budget. Total operating expenses to the 31st of May are $168.5 million, representing 87% of the full year budget, with 92% of the year completed. On a year-to-date basis, operating expenses are tracking below budget due to timing differences in contractor consultant payments and staff vacancies. Based on the year-to-date revenue and expenses, the operating result remains favourable, with the surplus of $34 million recorded at the end of May. This surplus, however, will reduce during June to be more in line with the Budget Review 3 surplus, as the majority of forecast revenue has already been received or recognised, and a number of material expenses are still to be incurred in June. At the end of May, cash stands at $128.8 million and debt at approximately $46 million. The capital budget, excluding commitments, is tracking below budget, with 72.4% of the full year budget spent at the end of May. Council's business activities of airport, waste, water and sewerage have recorded operating surpluses at the end of May exceeding budget forecasts. And while the Saleyards business activity recorded a year-to-date operating deficit of $75,000, it was $87,000 favourable to the budget forecast deficit of $162,000. Combined overdue rates and water accounts are $11 million at the end of May, which is a reduction of $3.8 million from April. Sundry debtors, which are different to a rate account and represent tax invoices issued for other works or services provided to the community, are $6.2 million. However, only 6% or $357,000 of this amount is considered overdue at the end of May. The balance relates to current invoices with 30-day payment terms. In relation to procurement activities, a local spend of 45% for the month of May is comparative to the 47% on outside spend. However, for the financial year to date, outside spend is tracking 12% higher. In closing, the recommendation is that Council adopts the monthly finance report for the period ended 31st of May 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. As a mover, I reserve my right to speak to the end, so I'll open up for discussion and comment. Councillor Newman.
It was pleasing to see in attachment 3 of the operating revenue variances that with the sale of goods and services, and as was stated in the report, that there was a favourable variance related to increased activity in the airport and Saleyards. While the Saleyards was previously predicted to be more negative, it's turned around over half that deficit. So everyone is to be congratulated in how that has turned around. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, so the officer recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council adopt the monthly finance report for the period ended the 31st of May 2025. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Carried. Now moving on to agenda item 12.2.1, the adoption of Central Highlands Regional Council Interim Local Disaster Management Plan 2025-26. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Hindmarsh and seconder Councillor Seifer. I now hand over to Acting General Manager of Communities, Jason Hurlham.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through the Chair, good morning, councillors. This report today seeks the adoption of the Central Highlands Regional Council Interim Local Disaster Management Plan 2025-26. And I'll hand over now to Glenn Bell, our Coordinator of Disaster Management and Community Resilience, to run through the report.
Thanks, Jason. Morning, councillors. Through the Chair, it's a pleasure to be able to deliver Council's interim local disaster management plan for 25-26. One of the things that you'll be asking is, why is it interim? It's because the state has delivered an interim plan following their successful election, and they're expecting to finalise that plan late this year. So we have followed the same guidelines as state in bringing in an interim plan, which will be reviewed once the state plan is finalised. The plan itself now brings all of the guidelines, principles and policies from state in line with the council guidelines, policies and procedures. So they both line up. It is a simplified format now. We've actually reduced 40 pages out of this plan to bring this down to suit what is needed. The second thing it's done is also aligned the machinery change of government at state level. So once the election came in, the departments changed, and we needed to change that to on roles, responsibilities, and who is actually providing support to council. So that's where we're up to with this. It is an interim plan. It's taken 6 months to put together, so probably in October we'll get the new plan, and then we'll start the process again of aligning our disaster management plan with the state plan. I put this forward. It is now the most current document that I've seen in local government for local disaster management plans, and brings us up to scratch and up in line with state policy.
Thank you. I'll now hand it over to discussion. So any comment, Councillor Hindmarsh as mover?
Thank you. Through the chair, so a statement. Disaster management plans are necessary documents that outline key responsibilities of all emergency services and council staff during any major event that risks lives or property within our region. CHRC is privileged to have a very high standard of facilities, equipment and personnel within all of our emergency services departments, and this plan gives lead to unison of these departments in disaster management. Congratulations to all. Thank you.
Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I'm glad to see that this is an interim plan reflective of those 73, I think, out of 77 councils that were disaster affected this year. And I know that Glenn and his team are recognised statewide for their contribution towards the disaster management services, and were acknowledged as such recently, so I'd like to congratulate you publicly at this point. Thank you.
Any further comments? I think probably of note was the 17 operational sub-plans that are in there, because that's where, you know, the rubber meets the road and when strategy meets action. So good to see that they're in there as well. So the recommendation there is that Central Highlands Regional Council adopts the Central Highlands Regional Council Interim Local Disaster Management Plan 2025 to 26. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Carried.
Are you finished? Thank you all.
Moving on to agenda item 12.2.2, development application DA 029 2024, material change of use, stage extension to non-residential workforce accommodation. Can I please have a mover? Councillor Cypher, seconder, Councillor Donaldson. And I now hand over to Acting General Manager of Communities, Jason Houlihan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the chair, as mentioned, this report is to consider a material change of use. I'll hand over to our Acting Manager of Planning and Land Management, Brendan Standen, to run through his report.
Cheers, thank you. So I'm just at the tail end of a bit of a sickness. So good morning, Deputy Mayor and Councillors. This report relates to a development application seeking a development permit for a material change of use for an extension to existing non-resident workforce accommodation at 35 Pritchard Road in Emerald. Thank you. The application is for an additional 206 beds across 4 stages. There are currently 166 beds within the shared facilities existing on the site. Do you mind if I get you just to finish it? I'm just a bit, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, the site is approximately 9 hectares and is located in a rural residential zone at the northeastern extent of the Emerald Township. The site is notably mapped as being affected by flood hazard and bushfire hazard overlays. The application was subject to public notification and 5 submissions were received objecting to the proposed development. The concerns raised in the submissions generally related to the potential amenity impacts relating to noise, lighting and visual. The second one was flooding. The third issue was the suitability of the local road network and concerns around the need for the development. The application was supported by technical reporting, notably including a traffic impact assessment, noise impact assessment, flood emergency management plan, bushfire hazard assessment and management plan, and a needs analysis. The technical reports and plans demonstrate that there is sufficient capacity in Pritchard Road to deal with any increase in vehicle movements. There will be no adverse noise impacts to surrounding residents with only noise mitigation measures required to achieve this. Additional landscaping along the northern, eastern and southern boundaries will assist in visual screening of the development. The development will not worsen the flood hazard or expose occupants of the rooms to any unacceptable level of risk. The development will not be subject to an unacceptable level of risk from bushfire hazard, mainly through the use of asset protection zones around the facility, and that there is an overriding need to provide additional accommodation for transient workers. The proposal ensures that housing demand is met without displacing permanent residents from the private rental market. The recommendation is that the application be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the report. I'll otherwise take the report as read and happy to take any questions, councillors.
Opening it up to councillors. As the mover, Councillor Cypher, you have first crack of the chair.
Thank you. The strategy done over at CHD, Workforce and Accommodation Strategy, clearly identified a shortage of housing in our region, and it's not just our regions, across Australia for residential housing. So there is a huge need for this development to increase its footprint. Any concerns that have been raised have been addressed, and mitigation has been implemented to address those concerns. And it's the society we live in today. We just cannot seem to be able to put up enough residential housing. So if these transient workers, we need them in our region, we don't have rentals available, we don't have residential properties available for them to purchase. So this is a way of life now, so I fully support it.
Anyone want to speak against the motion? Any general comments? Councillor Hindmarsh.
Through the chair, just a comment. The detail to which these development applications are scrutinised through the approval process is significant. There are 294 pages to this particular report. All possible negative impacts to community or environment are considered in depth. I don't feel there is ever enough emphasis put on the positives to this type of development for community or region. Unfortunately, it has been deemed this development meets all necessary criteria, so it has my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, my comments are much in line with Councillor Hindmarsh. I believe that this is a very detailed and comprehensive report. It's transparent in its responses to the public comment, and the planning team is to be congratulated with the depth of its compliance and how they meet their reporting needs to the public. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you. I totally agree, we do have a shortage of accommodation, and this is a solution, especially for the transient workers. My concerns are similar to the concerns that have been put forward, and even though everything is met according to the planning scheme is set by the council, so it doesn't mean that if someone objects because there's too many cars or this or that, as long as it fits in with the council's planning scheme, it fits the bill. So my concern is that sometimes we do things at all costs, rather than just going, well, is this still going to improve the livability in the area? And my other concern is if they are not compliant, what are the consequences? For example, if my understanding is that there's supposed to be 133 car parks, is that for the entire, just the new block, or the entire, including the old 166?
Through the chair, my understanding that's for the entire development, but there was an assessment done which identified that there were sufficient car parks to cater for both existing and proposed, the proposed development. The traffic impact assessment identified that there was effectively a demand of 0.3 vehicles per room based on traffic movements. A lot of the movements to and from the site were through buses or shared vehicle arrangements. So Council's Development Engineering Unit satisfied there's sufficient car parks on the site.
Sorry, just doing the calculation. So you said 0.3 times the 166 plus the 206, is that right?
Through the chair, that's how many vehicle movements are associated with each room. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there's very little demand for individual vehicles across the site, and the conditions that we've imposed for the 133, that covers, the existing developments. There's no shortfall in car parking across the site.
Okay, so if for argument's sake, so that's 166 plus 206 is 372. If, for argument's sake, it does go above that amount, and there are more cars, more than 133 cars, are they parking on the road, or where will they be parking?
Through the chair, the expectation that all car parking would be provided on site. The point I would make is that they're only occupying a relatively small a portion of the site, so there would be sufficient area for them to accommodate additional car parking if that demand arose.
Sorry, just the final thing about the compliance, that was my concern. What if they're not compliant?
Councillor Burns.
Thank you. With reports like this, I always look at the objections and whether they've been met, and it looks like they've answered just about everything with this. So, I support it. This might open up more residential room too in town, which would be good.
Thank you. So any closing comments, Councillor Syphon? Okay, so we have the officer's recommendation that the application for the development permit for a stage extension of non-resident workforce accommodation of 206 beds on land located at 35 Pritchard Road, Emerald, described as Lot 13 on SP 227973 is 1, approved subject to the conditions set out below, and 2, the statement of reasons be included in the decision notice. It's been moved and seconded. All of those in favour? Carried. So that brings us to item 12.2.3. Before we move into that, I'll throw straight over to Acting General Manager of Communities, Jason Houlihan.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, just pulling up the right report. Councillors, through the Chair, the report as presented in today's agenda proposes the donation of money to 3 organisations. However, following the agenda being published, it was identified that there is a misalignment with the Community Support Program policy, specifically for donations, sponsorships and fee waivers, which took effect on the 1st of July 2023. Section 3.6 of this policy allows donations to state-based organisations up to a maximum of $10,000 per annum per group, with the intent to provide funding assistance to state-based organisations, for example, Royal Flying Doctors Service, who provide services within the region, and it also outlines that Council will decide annually which organisation will be supported. Section 7.1 of the policy sets out the eligibility criteria for organisations to be eligible to receive a donation from Council. Furthermore, Section 7.1.5 outlines that charitable organisations must be a registered charity and provide benefit to the residents of the Central Highlands. So therefore, the organisation needs to be a charitable organisation that's registered. Unfortunately, it appears that the Heart of Australia does not meet this requirement of Section 7.1.5, as they are not a registered charitable organisation and therefore fall outside the policy as an ineligible organisation. According to their website, the Heart of Australia is a proprietary limited company and therefore donations are not tax deductible. Given the above and an alternative officer recommendation that aligns with the Community Support Program policy is tabled for your consideration in this report moving forward. And that recommendation is that the Central Highlands Regional Council approves the donation of $7,500 each to the Royal Flying Doctors Service and RACQ Capricorn Helicopter Rescue Services. Apologies for this oversight, councillors.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. So that amended recommendation would be that the Central Highlands Regional Council approves a donation of $7,500 each for the Royal Flying Doctors Service and RACQ Capricorn Helicopter Rescue Service. Can I have a mover for that one? Councillor Wilkins, and a seconder? Councillor Newman. Opening up for any further discussions. Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you. Thanks for the amendment. So is it possible then that we can increase potentially from 7,500 to 10,000 each?
Through the Chair, that recommendation is based on the budget that we have allowed. So each year Council has a budgeted allocation for donations. There is remaining funds, however, based on previous years' allocations to these organisations, $7,500 is what we have previously provided.
Yeah, I understand that. But before you had also this extra 7,500 to Heart of Australia. So that would be taking away 5,000 from that and still have 2,500 remaining.
Yes, so through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, so we've got an amendment motion on the books at the moment. If there was an additional amended motion, that would become the live motion, and basically then that would become the motion the council would vote upon. So at the moment, the motion reads, and which you've moved, at $7,500. So there would need to be an additional motion moved in order for that motion to take precedent over the motion that has just been moved, Councillor Wilkins.
Okay. So we're voting on this one now and then potentially...
So at the moment, this motion is the live motion. If an amendment motion is put forward, it then becomes the live motion. So yeah, through the chair. So what you could do, should you so choose, is you may choose to move an amended motion, changing the amount of funding for the donation.
But doesn't this motion, she's already moved that motion, doesn't this motion have to fail first?
Correct. So someone
This
else
has
may
got
have
to
to move
go.
it because Councillor Wilkins has already moved this particular
You've
motion.
moved the motion. Can't change it.
Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. I'm pleased you picked up on that Heart of Australia because I was going to raise that issue myself. Just some comments. and I'm actually a very generous person, but I find that these donations to state organisations are actually cost shifting from state government to local government. Now, both these charities actually get a lot of money through events that are run in this region, and I personally attend those events. I'm very generous. I feel that I'm already contributing to both these very worthy charities without council using our ratepayer money on top of what very generous people are already putting into this. Now, I know there is an expectation that local government is supposed to contribute to these, but we don't actually have to, and I find it a little bit of cost shifting. And I'd like to see under our policy as it is written that we get to choose different charities each year to support and not necessarily state government ones. And I think the money should go around. Now, the amount of money we're suggesting here is just a drop in the ocean. So it's not about the amount of money, because it's really not that much out of our budget. But when you look overall at all the money that we donate as a local government out of ratepayers' money to donations and grants and everything that we sponsor in our community, which totals approximately $619,000, I think that's correct, you know, that could fill a couple of potholes. And I think that is what our ratepayers' money should be going towards, not on top of all the charitable money that is already raised in this community. So I am not supportive of this. Thank you.
Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, while I'm in support of this particular motion at this time, we have been discussing changing the model of how people receive donations from council, and I know we will be doing further discussion around that point. I reiterate what Councillor Cyphers said. We are looking more at all the charities across the region and how that they can all apply into a new model. In this instance, I think we haven't revisited that particular policy, and we haven't made a conclusion on it. So at this point in time, I am happy to support the motion as it stands.
Any further comments? So I guess just in closing, I support this. I guess when in the regions, both of these charities provide critical medical care for rural and remote communities. So I am of the opinion that, you know, when minutes matter, they save lives. So I'm in support of this one. So we'll move to the officer's recommendation. Sorry. Sorry, Councillor Wilkins, would you like to?
I'd just like to say thank you, Councillor Cypher. There are lots of points there that I hadn't considered, so I agree with a lot of what you said. And I think it would be a good idea to, you know, consider different charities in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkins. So the officer's recommendation is that the Central Highlands Regional Council approves a donation of $7,500 each to the Royal Flying Doctor Service and RACQ Capricorn Helicopter Rescue Service. It's been moved and seconded. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Now moving on to agenda item 12.2.4, the Regional Arts Developments Fund, RADF, 2024-25 Round 3 Assessment Meeting. Can I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Cypher, a seconder. Councillor Donaldson. Now handing over to Acting General Manager of Communities, Jason Houlihan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through the Chair. Councillors, the report today seeks to present the minutes of the Regional Arts Development Fund Assessment Meeting held on the 6th of June 2025 and outlines the recommendations for Council's Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee's Round 3 of the Regional Arts Development Fund 24-25 financial year. The Regional Arts Development Fund is known as RADF in a partnership between Central Highlands Regional Council and the Queensland Government via Arts Queensland. The program invests in local arts and cultural priorities to provide public value and build local capacity. On the 6th of June 2025, the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee met as the RADF program's assessment panel to assess applications to round 3 of the 2024-25 financial year program. The program has a total budget of $70,000, with $35,850 approved in round 1 and $19,556 approved in round 2, with $14,594 available for this round of round 3. There were 3 eligible applications and 1 council initiated project requesting a total of $14,594, so in alignment with the available funds, and the applications were assessed against our RADF guidelines. After careful deliberation, all applications were recommended for approval. These include the Emerald Arts Group Incorporated, being the Catherine Boreham Acrylic Workshops, Night Owls Sewing Group, a flowering wreath workshop, Women in Film and Television Australia, being about Postcodes Don't Matter, and a council-initiated project being the Queensland Ballet Central Highlands Tour. The committee recommends these 4 applications to be approved to the value of $14,430.50, which would leave a remaining $163.50 from the original budgeted $70,000. I have Louis Gregory here with me, our Arts and Cultural Officer, and happy to take any questions relating to the applications, councillors.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. Now opening that up to councillors' questions and comments. So as mover, Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. Look, it was a great, robust assessment panel. We've got a couple of new members on that panel, and it was great to have a new and fresh viewpoint on the assessment of these applications. We certainly went through them with a fine-tooth comb, and they're all worthy of the money that Council is supporting them with. So it was great. Thank you.
Councillor Newman.
Through the Chair, I think they look like great projects, and I congratulate the Assessment Committee on their thorough review of each application. I was just curious with the Women in Film and Television Australia, whether the discussion around, which I can't see there, around Screen Queensland has come forward again, and whether we become a film-friendly council.
We can take that on notice and speak to Screen Queensland for sure.
Thank you. So coming back to Councillor Cypher, if you would like any closing comments. Councillor Wilkins.
It was a really robust discussion in the best possible sense. It was very positive. And I think all 4 are well deserving of the recommended funding. I'm looking forward to seeing them, take place, especially now that Arts Around August is, Art Attack is fast approaching. So this is a really good start to it. Thank you.
No further comments? Okay, so the officer's recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council, 1, receives the minutes of the Regional Arts Development Fund assessment meeting on the 6th of June 2025, and 2, approves $14,430.50 for the following Regional Arts Development Fund Round 3 applications for the 24-25 financial year, as per the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee's recommendations listed below in the agenda. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Carried. Moving on to agenda item 12.3.1, the Christmas closure 25-26. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Donaldson. A seconder? Councillor Newman. Handing over now to General Manager of Commercial and Corporate Services, Carolyn Knudsen. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through the Chair, good morning, councillors. Council has traditionally closed council administration buildings and libraries over the Christmas and New Year period and has done so for many years. In 2025, there are 3 business days between the Christmas Day statutory holiday on Thursday the 25th of December and the New Year's Day statutory holiday on Thursday the 1st of January. Customer requests and contact with the council significantly decreases leading up to Christmas due to increased family commitments after the school year ends and adoption of reduced holiday trading hours by local businesses. If council takes the approach of closing between 12 p.m. Wednesday the 24th of December 2025 up to and including Friday the 2nd of January 2026, staff will have the opportunity to take business days as leave, utilising accrued personal leave. The proposed close-down period was discussed with senior management at the Capricornia Bank, who confirmed they have no objections to the recommended closure dates. I now hand back to the Chair for council consideration.
Thank you. So opening it up to, first of all, mover Councillor Donaldson, if you have any questions or comments.
No real questions or comments. I think it's just continue on what's been usually done. Thank you.
No other?
I've got a question. I was waiting for the for and against. My only question is for staff that don't have leave available. What's the procedure?
So through the Chair, there'll be discussions on individual cases with their supervisor and guided by HR to assist them.
No other further comments? Okay, so the officer recommendation, I will refer back to Councillor Donaldson if he has any closing comments.
Lucky for you. No further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. The officer recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council, 1, close Central Highlands Regional Council administration buildings and libraries for the period from 12 p.m. Wednesday the 24th of December 25 up to and including Friday the 2nd of January 2026, reopening on Monday the 5th of January 2026, and 2, provide appropriate public notices and telephone answering service to ensure residents and customers have an avenue for any emergent matters during this period, and 3, delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer pursuant to Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to do all things necessary to give effect to a close down of Council's operations for an end of year close down period, including providing appropriate notice to relevant staff. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Carried. So before we move to the next agenda item, in accordance with my declared conflict of interest in relation to agenda items 12.3.2 and 12.3.3, I will vacate the chair and leave the meeting room prior to the commencement of deliberations on these matters. Accordingly, I move a procedural motion be put that Councillor Burns assume the role of chair for the duration of deliberations on the aforementioned agenda items 12.3.2 and 12.3.3. May I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Cypher. All in favour? Carried. So I will now vacate the chair. And all other councillors that have a conflict of interest will need to.
It's good, I've got a gavel up here. Hey, yeah, there's still one here. Okay, everyone's out of the room. I'll now hand over to,
Mover a seconder first.
move and seconder. Okay, can I get a mover for the motion put? Councillor Hindmarsh and seconder. Councillor Newman. All in favour? Right. Just testing you. I'll now hand over to Caroline Knudsen, General Manager for Community, for Commercial and Corporate Services.
Thank you. Through the Chair, in accordance with sections 97 and 262 of the Local Government Act, Council has the power to set fees and charges for services and facilities provided. Council's fees and charges are classified as either regulatory or non-regulatory, and this classification includes how the fees are set. Council's non-regulatory fees are where a user is charged or a fee for service relating for the provision of a service or a good by council, where a party can choose to avail themselves of these commodities. A review of the Emerald Saleyards non-regulatory fees and charges was undertaken, and the proposed 25-26 fees and charges were based on this review. The majority in fees and charges have a modest increase ranging from 0 to 3.54% to ensure that Council goes some way to recovering the costs associated with the provision of this facility and to encourage return customers. Where commercially viable, of the 34 fees and charges, 5 of the fees and charges have been increased between 4% and 5.26%, and 2 fees and charges increasing 7.1% and 13.69%, which there's an example there provided. I now hand back to the Chair for Council consideration.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Hindmarsh as a mover.
Thank you. Through the Chair, I think the fees that are being proposed, fees and charges proposed, the increases are very minor, considering all things considered. So I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you. Just a question, I couldn't see it here, but it may well be. Is there a fee for removal of deceased bodies?
So through the Chair, there is a fee, and it's for animals in transit. So beasts that are in transit, there is a fee chargeable or payable by the owner of that beast should it be deceased in transit.
Is it on here though?
Yes, so through the Chair, it would be page...
Oh, sorry, I found it. Yeah, page 6, destruction and or disposal of transit beasts.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Newman.
Through the Chair, I think it's relevant to increase the fees and charges given the level of service provided, and I am encouraged by the positive shift in the deficit against the sale yards. So I think you've been to be congratulated on your management of this facility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Or, as a mover, would you like to sum up, Councillor Hindmarsh?
No further comment, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think there's two certainties in life, death and taxes, and increases in fees and charges. I'll probably add to that. All in favour? Okay, carried. No against. Do we have to move to invite the others back in the room?
So the next report is 12.3.
Okay. Should scroll down to that. Ah, that's right, we're moving. Yep. Okay, next report, 12.3.3. The Emerald Sale Yards Advisory Committee. I'll hand over to Caroline Knutson. I'll leave it secondary. Can I get a mover? Councillor Hindmarsh, and a seconder? Councillor Whiteman. And I'll hand over to Caroline Knutson, our General Manager for Commercial and Corporate Services.
Thank you. Through the Chair. The Emerald Sale Yards Consultation Committee operates as a local government advisory committee to provide strategic guidance and/or recommendations. Whilst the committee has provided strategic guidance and recommendations to Council over time, there is a greater value strategically and operationally in hosting forums through which Council officers, sale yards management and relevant industry stakeholders can engage with each other to discuss matters impacting the Emerald Sale Yards business and the industry at large. Key users and stakeholders of the Emerald Sale Yards generally make contact with management daily, weekly or fortnightly, depending on the service being provided to the key stakeholder or user. Council, as for all strategic decision making, can consider how best to engage with industry, key users and stakeholders and the community as and when of value to inform good decision making in the public interest. Advisory committees are dissolved by local government for a variety of reasons, such as transition, where the committee has fulfilled its purpose or the committee's function may be handled by another process or processes, or governance, where the committee governance structure as an advisory committee limits or prohibits direct participation or engagement with all users, key stakeholders and the community. A council resolution is required to dissolve a local government advisory committee, and I now hand back to the Chair for council consideration.
Cool. Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Hindmarsh, please move.
Thank you. Through the Chair. So, this is purely a motion to rescind a committee structure that, due to government structures, pertains a substantial level of risk to those councillors and council staff who are involved within, and community members who are involved within the industry to which the committee advises. For this reason alone, the opportunity for sound strategic direction of these council businesses entities is lost within the current committee structure. That is my belief. Protection of councillors, community members and council staff from conflict of interest issues and the fallout from them is paramount to the success and continued enhancement of not only these business entities but the organisation of council. It is my belief that by rescinding this committee, it offers the opportunity to create a medium for more meaningful, effective participation from all stakeholders and ultimately stronger, more productive business units, providing more desirable, efficient community services. And I please take note of the vacant chairs here due to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hindmarsh. Any other comments? Or Councillor Newman?
Through the Chair, I am not in support of this particular motion. I think we are entering I see the value of advisory committees, and it's up to those advisory committees and those individuals within those committees to disclose their conflicts of interest. I think we are taking the conflict of interest advice to an extreme when someone has to report on an ex-sister-in-law or as a related party. I know it is for protection of the councillors, but I think I have seen advisory committees working very well in many situations, and maybe just looking at the structure of that committee would be the best way forward. In saying that, I also have seen that the deficit is being reduced. There have been positive changes within the sale yards, and it's increasing in a more positive direction. So I think we need more time to reflect on this particular line of emotion. Anyhow, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Any other comments, councillors? Yeah, I think in these smaller communities and councils at local government level, we have to often wear many hats because we're usually involved. Especially as councillors, you're usually involved in many different just groups in general and communities, and I know I had to give up quite a bit when I first became a councillor. I had to step back from quite a few committees I was on and different things, and that might be just because I don't like the paperwork and I don't like filling out those register of interest every year to update it. But, I think it's a sad thing that we have to dissolve these advisory committees because they do work well. You always have to think about what hat you're wearing when you're in the group, but I think we'll be looking at how we can restructure it though to make it effective, and it doesn't create these conflicts and legal ramifications possible. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Oh, Councillor Hindmarsh, your last word.
Thank you. Through the chair, I appreciate Councillor Newman's point of view, and I understand it, and I appreciate Councillor Burns, your comments, and I see this as a way forward to be able to enhance the input from ourselves as councillors and and community members and all stakeholder groups, if we put it together correctly, and I think we are on the right track to putting together correctly a medium that is going to support that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hindmarsh. Okay, I can now put it to the vote. Thank you. Those in favour? Okay, those against? Thank you. Do we have to invite the others back in?
Did you carry it?
No, carried. Thank you. It's so pleasant without them, that's all I'm saying. So, okay, I'll vacate the chair now and we'll invite the other councillors back in the room.
I was waiting for that.
Thank you, councillor Burns. So now we move on to agenda item 12.3.4, the Emerald Airport Advisory Committee. Can we have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Burns, seconder, councillor Cypher. Handing over to General Manager of Commercial and Corporate Services, Carolyn Knudsen. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the Chair, the Emerald Airport Advisory Committee is established as a council advisory committee to provide strategic guidance and/or recommendations. Whilst the committee has provided strategic guidance and recommendations to council over time, there is greater value strategically and operationally in hosting forums through which council officers, airport management and relevant industry stakeholders and users can engage with each other to discuss matters impacting the Emerald Airport business and aviation industry at large. Users and key stakeholders of the Emerald Airport generally make contact with management daily, weekly or fortnightly, depending on the service being provided to the key stakeholder or user. Council, as for all strategic decision making, can consider how best to engage with industry, users, key stakeholders and the community as and when of value to inform good decision making in the public interest. Council, in partnership with the Central Highlands Development Corporation, regularly engages with major aviation transport operators, as does council officers and management of the Emerald Airport. Advisory committees are dissolved by local government for a variety of reasons, such as transition, where the committee has fulfilled its purpose, or the committee's function may be handled by another process or processes, or governance, where the committee governance structure has an advisory committee limits or prohibits direct participation or engagement by all users and key stakeholders and the community. A council resolution is required to dissolve a local government advisory committee, and I now hand back to the Chair for council's consideration.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Burns as mover.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, this is, as with the Sale Yards Committee, it's been seen as possible area where conflicts and legal problems will come from. So hopefully we'll revamp a new committee out of these committees. So I support this.
Any speakers against? Councillor Newman.
Again, as previous, through the Chair, again as previously, I believe advisory committees play an important role in providing expert guidance and recommendations to an organisation's leadership. They do not have authority to make binding decisions. Their primary role is to inform council and strategic direction on specialised knowledge and experience. So I believe that there's strength in a well-run advisory committee. And I have one question in relation to any change from an advisory committee format. In the current format, all councillors can attend any council meetings and advisory committee meetings. In a new format, would all councillors be able to observe the proceedings of a particular meeting?
So, through the Chair, it would matter. It would depend on the matter of the meeting, what it was called for. So, for example, a forum of all the airport managers meeting, as we did most recently at Emerald Airport, there was an opportunity for councillors to meet with the Emerald, with that cluster, that group of airports, to talk about strategic matters and the advancement of the Emerald Airport. And then there was also a component the day before, which was purely just an operational matter where they're talking about how they actually operate their airports and where there's opportunity for collaboration on a number of activities and you know, how we're engaging our security services, etc., from a more operational point of view. So there's certainly that option. In terms of, for the master plan, for example, for the Emerald Airport, the draft master plan will be coming to council in the near future for adoption to go to consultation. part of that consultation will be to have a forum where all users are invited to come along and engage and I guess provide their feedback, as opposed to channeling that through the advisory committee. So it opens up the floor, depending on how council would like to engage with stakeholders and users. There's an opportunity for council to organise forums on particular matters for strategic guidance at any time throughout the year as they see fit.
Thank you, General Manager. I think moving forward, whatever it looks like, we must make sure that we don't blur the lines between strategic steer and those of an operational matter. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. I do agree with dissolving these advisory committees, and I have sat on this airport one as a councillor in the previous term, and of the stakeholders who were on that committee, there wasn't a great number of them that attended these meetings. So for me, it is better to actually have forums where a greater range of people can be involved. These advisory committees can become very restricted in the input that is allowed into them. So I certainly support this, and I think there's a couple other advisory committees that aren't commercially driven that do sit within council that could also be looked at. So I certainly support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cypher. Any other further? Councillor Wilkins.
So I think it mentions here that it's envisaged that the forum will be hosted 3 times per year. So is that at least the minimum, or is it just on an ad hoc basis or something like that?
So through the chair, it would be on a needs basis. So if there was a strategic matter that council would like to consult stakeholders, users of a particular facility for the airport, then there'd be an opportunity to hold that forum. There would be forums that were operationally held, which is like the regional collaboration of forums. There would be, we're consulting at the moment in relation to a number of contracts that we're going to be considering at the airport, and we're doing targeted forums in that sense operationally. It's just that there's certainly an intent to continue to engage heavily with our key users and stakeholders of the facility, and it just depends on the nature of that engagement as to what it would look like and how often.
Sure, thank you. So just further to what Councillor Newman was saying, though, is that something, obviously, if it's operational, then councillors would not be allowed to go. So the 3 forums may not include councillors at all.
So through the chair, if there weren't strategic matters that council wanted to consult key stakeholders and users on, then potentially there would be less or more, depending on what the desire of council was.
Yeah, sorry, my point is, like, there could be, potentially you could have 3 or more forums, but no council is allowed to go because they're all operational.
So through the chair, potentially if there was a number of matters operationally that we wanted to discuss with our key stakeholders, correct. And there's also the opportunity for any matters before council in relation to those facilities where council can call those forums, and officers would support those.
Councillor Donaldson.
Being the chair of the airport committee, I've got a few comments. I think this has been sort of forced upon us a bit, so we have to make the most out of the situation we've got. I think the new forums may even work better than we got now. As Kari mentioned, when it comes to operational things, a lot of those things are confidential matters commercially, so we wouldn't want to be there anyway, as far as I could see. And you know, and as it comes to security with airports and commercial matters with the stakeholders at the airport, it's not really us as councillors to get involved in that at all. I did have something else, but sorry, I can't remember. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. I think with this being under consideration, I think we all must sort of look at, it's not just the councillor makeup that we see before us today, it's also the future council makeup and future terms. So it's about the longevity of what is best for a business unit and getting that, I guess, stakeholder engagement correct for each of those business units or anything under those advisory committees. So as mover, Councillor Burns, I'll move back to you if you have any closing comments.
Not too many. Like I was talking before on the Emerald Sale Yards Committee, it's just a question of hats and what we're wearing and what meeting we're in. And there is a possibility here, and a lot of it is forced on us from legislation and other. Councillor Donaldson's right, because there's a few councils down south acting up and not doing the right thing, and now we all have to be extra careful in these matters. So, yeah, that's all I'll say on that. So, thank you.
Thank you. So the officer's recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council, 1, dissolves the Central Highlands Regional Council Emerald Airport Advisory Committee, and 2, rescinds the Central Highlands Regional Council Airport Advisory Committee Terms of Reference policy, and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to notify all current committee members of the decision, acknowledging the contributions made by committee members in supporting the objectives of the committee. It's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Those against? Carried. Moving on to agenda item 12.4.1, project nominations, Safer Local Roads and Infrastructure Program 3. Can we have a mover for this, please? Councillor Cypher, seconder, Councillor Newman. Handing over to Acting General Manager of Infrastructure and Utilities, Kim Downey.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good morning, councillors. The purpose of the report this morning is to to seek endorsement to present funding applications under the Australian Government's Safer Local Roads and Infrastructure Program, round 3 of this funding. This funding actually commenced in 1 July 2024 and consolidates the Bridge Renewal Program and the Heavy Vehicle Safety and Productivity Program. The funding is for construction-only projects, design and construction projects, or design-only projects. What we are proposing today is 3 projects, with 2 of them being construction-only and 1 being design and construct. Successful construction-only projects are required to be completed within 24 months of commencement, with commencement to be within 12 months of advice of success. Up to 80% of grant funding is available, up to a maximum of $5 million. This round of funding closes for applications on 30 June 2025, and being round 3, we have previously submitted projects under round 1 with a council resolution to that effect in September 2024. We were advised in January that we were not successful under round 1. We again submitted the projects under round 2 when it opened. We have not yet been advised of the outcome of that submission. So we're expecting that, we've been advised that it's basically mid-July that we should become aware of it. So after the applications for round 3 close. Just noting that If council endorse this submission, if we are advised that we're successful under round 2, we would revise our submission for round 3. The projects included this time, there has been an additional project related to Glendon Road, where following inspection, it's been identified that one particular culvert on Glendon Road is structurally compromised. So looking to urgently replace that culvert rather than close the road should the culvert fail. The other 2 projects are as submitted previously. Hand back to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Acting General Manager. So opening up this up for councillor comment and question as the mover, Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kim. I'd just like to say I'm really pleased about the consistency with those 2 projects, the Fork Lagoons and the Capella Rubyvale Road, that they have been continuing to be put in. It's, to me, you've got to have consistency. These are very major projects that actually we did fight a bit hard to get Capella put in there last year. So it failed to get funded in one round. It's in again for another round, and we'll put it in just in case it doesn't get up in round 2. So thank you for doing that. It's important that we stay true and strong to what we want to get funded, and that's what I see here. So thank you very, very much.
Councillor Newman.
Through the Chair, I'm pleased that we are consistently applying for these grants. As we know, our roads are across our region need great work right across the region, and I'm glad that the Glendon Road has been added, considering the impact to the safety and of people that traverse that roadway. I think we need to be consistent in our approach to all road funding and get any additional support we can for this essential infrastructure. Thank you.
Councillor Donaldson.
I agree with both councillors. Now I've forgotten what I was going to say. I think roads in our area are very important, and I was just wondering, Kim, with how successful have we been getting money out of this program? Do you know? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
Through the Chair, this particular funding bucket, this will be our 3rd go with no outcome.
Is it just
we have not been successful before, but Withersfield Road Bridge was funded through the Bridge Renewal Program when they were 2 separate programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been turned into sort of like the one program now, more or less.
Yes. So they combined the Bridge Renewal Program and the Heavy Vehicle Safety and Productivity Program.
So this is federally funded, that's correct?
Federal funding, yes, through the Chair.
Thank you.
Councillor Burns.
Yeah, thank you. One thing I've learnt going to these council conferences and meeting councillors from all over the state, the one thing we've all got in common is, we all think the roads in our region are the worst in the world, I think. But we thank you for this, and I agree with the other councillors that it's good to have consistency, and we've 3rd time lucky, hopefully. So thank you.
Councillor Whiteman.
Through the Chair, thank you very much for this. As this is being funded through the Safer Local Roads and Infrastructure Program, I take it that these are our most dangerous roads in the region. I'd love to see the data on that, if they could come back to council. I'm sure we keep data of that sort. But yeah, I absolutely approve.
I just have one question, Acting General Manager. Just with regards the unsuccessful bid in round one, did they provide any input as to why or whether it may have been oversubscribed or?
Our standard practice when we are unsuccessful is to return to the funding body and ask them how we can improve. With the first round of this, it was just oversubscribed. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So are there any, Councillor Wilkins?
Thank you. Sorry, just a couple of questions. So when this came up the first time, I felt that the report didn't provide enough information, such as what Councillor Whiteman was talking about, you know, because this is, council now are contributing $1.5 million. And so one of the things was that my understanding or what I found after that last meeting regarding this was that the Fork Lagoons Road, where the bridges are, how many properties does that service?
Through the chair, I'd have to take that on notice, Councillor Wilkins. I could not tell you off the top of my head.
From what I heard, it was like 1 to 2 properties, but also if those bridges are underwater or whatever, or not passable, there is also another way of, it is a longer way, but a way of getting out of that region. So it's not like that's the only way to get out of that. So if you are applying to improve productivity and efficiency outcomes through connecting and improving road networks, if it's only for a couple of properties, I question whether that should be in this application. And it would be good, really good to have the statistics. Also, if the Capella Rubyvale Road is dangerous, again, there's no information as to how many number of accidents or near misses or whatever that we can make a really, informed decision on this. I'm not sure about Glendon Road. From what I've heard, it does need a fair bit of repairing. So, yeah, that's my comments. So I would like, and I did request this at the previous meeting, that can we have more information, like, you know, what are the stats, where a map of where the repair is going to be, so that we have a more informed decision making.
Councillor Donaldson.
I've been with the Fork Lagoon Bridge. I think it's 4 properties get serviced by it, but the problem is that the bridge disappears. There's no other access that I know of. There's only one way in, one way out. Especially, yeah. And maybe I'm just thinking maybe in a car, there may be a 4-wheel-drive car, but in a truck with when you're carting produce is nearly impossible.
Councillor Donaldson has the floor.
Yeah, it'd be impossible to get a truck out if that bridge, which is, if it's, I don't know whether it's been condemned, but it's close to it because I've actually been out there and had a look at it, and they have got a bypass there, but I wouldn't like to take my truck over it, put it that way. And the rebar realignment, I've been along that heaps of times in a car and quite a lot of times in a truck, and it's pretty ordinary. Some of them corners are quite dangerous. That are my comments. Thank you.
Councillor Cypher.
It's actually more of a point of order that if councillors were to follow the council policy and seek information prior to the meeting, their questions would have got answered. So that is what, you know, we have a responsibility not to put staff on the mat and put up questions that they can't answer on the day. That is why the policy is there, and I suggest councillors follow it. Also, we have road trips that there's only about 3-4 councillors that actually drive the rural roads. So I'd also encourage councillors who don't go on those road trips, perhaps get in the car on the designated days and join us to travel the rural roads. It's quite an experience, and you'll learn quite a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess it's the nature of the program is safer local roads, and if these are the three projects that have been put forward by our officers who have all that technical knowledge, then I think they are the three most fitting. Councillor Cypher, as mover, did you have any closing comments?
No, I just made mine. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. So the officer recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council endorses the following projects to be progressed to application for funding through the Australian Government's Safer Local Roads and Infrastructure Program Round 3. The projects are as listed in the agenda. Furthermore, if the application is successful, Central Highlands Regional Council will commit to the inclusion of the required funds in the financial years in which the projects will be delivered, inclusive of any project cost deemed ineligible by the funding body. It has been moved and seconded. All in favour? Those against? Carried. Keep on. So we will be moving to 12.5.1, which is reports from People's Safety and Legal, which is nil. 12.6 from reports from the Chief Executive Officer, which there are nil reports. 13.1, which is decision action reports closed session, there are nil reports. Information reports at 14.1.1 from the Chief Executive Officer, there are nil. 14.2 for communities, there are nil reports. 14.3 commercial and corporate services, there are nil reports. 14.4 infrastructure and utilities, there are nil reports. 14.5 people, safety and legal, nil reports. 14.6 Chief Executive Officer, nil reports. Information reports to closed session, 15.1, there are nil reports. 16 late agenda items.
No late agenda items, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. 17 notices of motion, there are nil. That leaves us with agenda item 18, general business. Is there anything anyone wants to bring up in general business? No general business items? So agenda item 19, which is community acknowledgements. Do we have any community acknowledgements? Councillor Newman.
Just acknowledging the local agricultural shows and the successful undertaking by those communities that those agricultural shows were held in. And I think it's still a great point of interest to our local region and a source of community spirit that's still strong within the region. Springsure saw its 160th show, and they had a garden that was commemorated the Dendel family, and all the other shows were well attended, I believe, and the Governor was at the Capella show. So I think everyone involved with the shows across the region should be acknowledged and congratulated.
Thank you, Councillor Newman, and I concur. I managed to get to all of them and they were well attended and everyone seemed to be having a good time. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. I'd just like to make comment on the CHDC event in Brisbane recently, Farm to Fine Dining. It's an event that showcases our region and it takes the produce from our region to the city. And I think that's very, very important. It was a 10-year celebration this year and it was the largest number of people who have attended that event and the largest number of politicians who also attended from federal and state government. It was a great night of networking and just putting our region on the map. So I'd like to thank the CHDC team, the hard work they've done, particularly noting Jess Davidson and Kylie Hawkins for their incredible contribution to that event over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cypher. At this point, I'd like to pause and reflect on the recent passing of two community members who have each left a legacy within our community. Mr. Charlie Randall, formerly of Mount Stewart Capella, was a true gentleman and a man of the land in every sense. At our last council meeting, we had the honour of celebrating his 100th birthday, a milestone that reflected a life rich in purpose and connection. Charlie's deep love of the land was matched only by his passion for Brahman cattle, which is a legacy that continues on through his family. He leaves behind not just plenty of mates and memories, but a living heritage in the paddocks and the bloodlines that he helped shape. We also remember Mrs. Maureen Comino, a respected and much loved member of our local government family. Maureen began her career with council in 1969 and in 1972 was appointed as personal assistant to the Chief Executive Officer and Mayor, a role she held with dedication until her retirement in 2002. Maureen also served the community as a marriage celebrant, helping many couples from across the Central Highlands mark some of life's most joyful moments. So on behalf of the council, we extend our heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of both Charlie and Maureen. And that brings us to the closure of today's meeting. Thank you for all in attendance and all online.